Well, hey guys, it's Mr. Gallion. I hope you're doing really well today. Hope you're staying home and staying healthy and all that. I'm getting a little tired of being cooped up, but I know it's for the best, and I hope you guys are doing your best to stay occupied. So we're going to dive in, and we're actually going to look at the last section today in Standard 7. The next assignment, which is going to drop on Thursday, is going to be asking you to go ahead and do Brainscape, and then USA Test Prep will be open. And then we'll be taking the test next week. We are going to take a traditional test. The part that's not traditional is that it's going to be through Google Forms, it's going to be home, and it's going to be online. So, of course, you can use your stuff. So hopefully that's a help, but we do need to dive through this. This is kind of a long section. My guess is this will probably be 2 videos, but I did want to go ahead and talk you through it. So let's take a look at Standard 7.6. Again, if you haven't already grabbed the notes, I should have linked to them. If not, they're on my webpage. So for Standard 7.6, we're talking about what's going on right after World War II. After World War II, it's kind of amazing. We've been sitting on all this money for a long period of time, all throughout the war, because remember, we have people working again. So technically the depression's over, but they can't spend the money. So when the war ends and we're not rationing anymore, all of a sudden people are going out there and they're spending their money in large amounts. And this is really, really good. In fact, it's one of the reasons that I'm hoping that after this period that we're in right now ends, you'll start to see people immediately go out and spend money, because people have some money at the moment, although I know that people are losing jobs and stuff. But there are a lot of people who are still getting paid. And as soon as those people can go out and freely spend, I think you're going to see the economy take off. At least that's my hope. So, yeah, communism's still out there. It is a threat to democracy, but there's a lot of wealth in the United States. And so there's this encouragement that the government has to spread democracy around the globe and contain communism. That was the Truman Doctrine. In fact, let me take just 1 second. There were a number of you guys that had an issue with this. So the Truman Doctrine says we want to contain communism where it is. We don't want it to spread. Eisenhower came along and Eisenhower said, yeah, let's do that, but let's go even one step further and let's contain it in the Middle East. Let's make sure that the Middle East is a particular area of focus. We don't want communism spreading there because that would be bad. We need oil. We're trying to protect Israel and that kind of a thing. A number of you had issues. So the point is, though, we're trying to spread democracy even while we're containing communism around the world. So one of the things the United States decides to do, because it's got more money than it used to, people are spending money that stimulates the economy, so more tax dollars are flowing in. They say, you know who we really owe a lot of this to is our veterans. So why don't we come up with a piece of legislation, a law, that says we are going to pay for these soldiers who are coming out of World War II to do a couple things. Let's make sure that they can, number one, go to college. Let's make it easy for them to get loans to buy houses. So specifically, we're going to pay for college through the GI Bill. This still exists today. If you're trying to figure out how do I pay for college, you can join the military, and they will pay for at least a good chunk of your education. They've changed it a little bit, but it'd still be great. Now, think about this. This means we have all these people who are not super educated, like my grandfather, okay, who grew up in the hills of Kentucky. He lives in a small, it's not even really a town, it's smaller than a town. They're tobacco farmers. And he goes off to fight in World War II. He comes back and the government says, hey, do you want to go to college? It's free. And he's like, sure. So he becomes an electrician. He moves into a middle-class neighborhood in Ohio, encourages my dad and his brothers to go to college. It changes the way things work. This is going to change the society of the United States. And now you've got generations that are going to be way more educated. It's going to cause even more economic growth, which for really one of the first times that we've ever talked about, we're going to start to see a little bit of a narrowing between the rich and the poor. Educating people is a great way to narrow the gap between the rich and the poor, because look, I can't promise that an education is going to be a way out of a rough life for everybody, but it's going to be really hard to get out of a rough life without an education, okay? So So this cartoon shows a little bit of a gap between the rich and the poor. How come I'm rich and you're poor? Well, mom and dad have highly paid jobs working on that very problem. That's kind of a joke that, we're spending a lot of money trying to figure out the problem rather than trying to solve the problem, I guess. So during this time, this is actually another reason we want to encourage people to be educated is that we're in the middle of the space race. We want to see more people focusing on math and science. As the wealth of the nation grows, it's not just the GIs, the soldiers who are going to college, it's everybody. If you've got money and you see that's a way into an increased societal gain, you're going to go to college, you're going to go to grad school, and maybe you hadn't considered it before. You're going to start to see women attending college in large numbers. This ad over here on the right might not be all that surprising or shocking to you today, but in the 50s when it was made, the idea of 2 women in a college class, right, that's a change. You're also going to see that right after World War II, there's this huge spike in birth rates. And there are a couple reasons for this. One is all these soldiers have been in Europe for a couple years, and now they're coming home and they're like, time to start a family, right? Let's start a family now. You've also got to remember that people were holding off on families during the Great Depression because babies are really expensive. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see that now. I've heard a lot of people talking, even with the coronavirus, everything going on. People are saying, look, there's a lot of uncertainty. I don't know about my job. Let's hold off on babies. Well, give it maybe 12, 18 months to 2 years. I think you're going to start to see people saying, all right, we're starting to pull out of this, hopefully. So we're going to see some more babies. That's my guess. I could be wrong. Maybe you'll see babies even sooner because people are cooped up at home. But this is going to have an impact on the economy and on society because all of a sudden, when you look at this right here, look at this spike. This is about a year after everybody's coming home. Boom, you've got a spike, and that spike is going to last really until the mid 1960s. Well, those kids got to go to school somewhere. So we got to build new schools. And not only that, but we got to make sure we have plenty of nurses and doctors who are ready to deliver babies and take care of them. This picture is a little bit extreme, but one hospital's lined up all the babies that were born in one hospital in one, I guess, week or whatever. It's crazy. And then think beyond that. You've got to feed these kids. You've got to have clothes for these kids. You've got to have toys for these kids. And so all these markets are starting to grow. Now, think about this. So you're a soldier, you're home from the war, you're having babies, your family's growing, you've got a little bit of money, and the government's saying, hey, we'll help you get a home loan, okay? So you're going to start to see suburbs grow. Because if I don't have to live in the middle of the city where it's dirty, I want to live out in the suburbs. That'd be great. Or maybe I don't want to live, in this rural area. I want to live closer to the big city. And so the suburbs are going to start to grow, both because of the baby boom and because of the GI Bill. And so you start to see home or developments like this, where you've got these sort of cookie cutter homes that are just built all over the place, okay? That's actually going to be helped even further by the Federal Defense Highway Act. President Eisenhower says, hey, we don't like Germany at this point, although they lost and we're, getting over it. But one thing Germany did that was really smart is that Hitler, in preparation for World War II, decided to build the German Autobahn. That's their highway system that's set up so that if there needed to be a bunch of troops in France, then Germany could very quickly put the troops on the highway and send them over to France. Or if they needed to be on the Eastern Front between Germany and Russia, they could put them on the highway system and send them over there. Or, mortars or tanks or whatever. Eisenhower says that's a really good plan. We need a national highway system. And so he builds this thing. Well, now people who live a little bit further out can get into the city really quickly. Okay, how many of you end up getting on Interstate 85 in a given week, in a normal week? Probably not now, because a lot of you are staying at home. But a lot of you guys use 85 because it's very convenient. Well, think about every major city. Every major city is connected to this highway system. It's kind of a big deal. Okay? So now, as people start to move out to the suburbs, you've got a lot of new businesses that are showing up. And I've got stores, malls, motels, restaurants. This is going to be really impressive. a lot of African Americans are going to move from the South into the North looking for this work because especially, you know, a lot of these cities are in the North. And so as these jobs show up, people, the white flight process is continuing. And so this is going to happen. This is going to continue well into the 60s. Now, there's a social phenomenon that's going to happen though, because remember in the North, just because there wasn't slavery there, at least when the Civil War happens for the most part, that doesn't mean there wasn't racism. And so what you have is African Americans move into the North. A lot of white families are like, I don't like the way this neighborhood is going. And that's code for, I don't like the fact that black people are moving into this neighborhood. Now, yeah, that's obvious racism, okay? But that is very much a phenomenon that you can trace, okay? Now, as white people move out into the suburbs, a lot of the businesses they owned go with them because all of a sudden there's a demand out in the suburbs. So now what's left in the cities? Well, high unemployment, limited services because there's not as much of a tax base. So how do you pay for all these things that are needed? So again, African Americans have a tough time because they've moved here looking for work and now the work is drying up. Well, problems are going to be showing up in the inner city. I want to be super clear here. It's not because African Americans have moved into these neighborhoods that there's a problem. It's because other people are leaving. Middle class people are leaving. That's going to be a real problem, and there's a lot more to talk about, but this video can only be 15 minutes, so we'll talk about this. All right. So what about culture? Well, people want goods. I talked about the fact that they're having babies because there's this baby boom. There's demand for all kinds of new products. Okay, so clearly that's going to lead to an economic boom. There are also all these jobs in defense that are showing up because of the Cold War. We got to protect ourselves from Russia. So there's going to be an economic boom. And by 1959, America has the highest standard of living in the world. There are a lot of white collar jobs suddenly that are available. You see here in this picture, this guy's got a white collar. White collar has the idea of office jobs, a job where I will use my mind more than I use my brawn or my muscles. Most of those pay better than blue collar or manufacturing jobs, although not all. I would say if you're interested in a blue collar job, you want to be a plumber, you want to do some, work being an electrician or something, man, there's good money to be made there. You'll probably make more than I do, which I don't know if that's saying so much. Now, because of that, you start to see even more advertising than you ever would have seen before. Okay, so you name it, Ford has it, or this one, which is kind of sexist. Christmas morning, she'll be happier with a Hoover. If your wife doesn't ask for a Hoover and you buy her a vacuum cleaner for Christmas, that may not go over so well. Okay? TV is in homes for the first time in large numbers, and this encourages consumer culture. You see ads all the time. Hey, buy this thing. You see products you never would have seen before. Now there's much more of a buy it now, pay it later mentality, which is when all of a sudden we say, hey, that credit thing we started in the 20s, what if we let people carry around their credit cards instead of just linking it to a store? Okay. So in the 1950s, you're going to see the beginnings of credit cards and consumer debt is going to rise. Not good. That is actually where I'm going to stop for today, at least for this video. There's actually another one coming. I am going to drop you guys a quiz, and as I record this, I'm not sure if I'm going to include another assignment because I know later on in the week you've got Brainscape, you've got USA Test Prep, that might be a little much. I probably will give you a really short written assignment, but I don't want to overload you guys, and I know that having this video plus another one worth of content, it might take you a little while, and maybe you're not thrilled about that. Y'all, I just want to say as I finish this video up anyway that I really do miss you guys. I mean, I like my family, but I would really like to be at school right now and to see y'all. So hope you're doing well. Please reach out to me if there's anything that I can do. And yeah, stay home, stay healthy. I'll talk with you soon.